Rose Wildsmith here. Hello, hi, and welcome to the online Sketchbook social, where I do a live stream of me doing some painty things. And if you're joining me live, then you can say hello in the chat and I will chat along with you. Hopefully you can make your own artwork while you're sitting with me. That would be great. We can do something together. Today I wanted to play with some texture pastes that I have in my stash. So I've got a few different ones and I thought I'd try them out on this board, and so you can have a look at what they all are like. So first up, I've got this fibre paste. And I have used this before, and I think this is one of my favourite texture pastes actually. And you can maybe see what it looks like. It's kind of thick, gloopy paste. And then when you put it on, it reminds me kind of like paper. It dries. When it dries, it looks kind of papery, like cold pressed paper or something. So I'm going to try them all out on this board so you get to see what they all look like. And I'm just going to use a baby wipe to wipe off the excess in between. Okay, and the next one I've got is crackle paste. And with this one, you can't use it on something that's going to move about. So you can use it on a wooden panel, wooden board like this, but I don't think you can use it on canvas because the bits will just flake off when they dry. So you can put it on quite thick like that, and then you get big cracks, and then you can also try thinly applying it and you should get thin cracks. So obviously you can't see how that one's going to turn out until it actually dries. That's the crackle paste. What else have we got here? Right, the next one I've got is this fine pumice gel. And this one's kind of grey colour. And oh, it's very fine actually. Very gel-like. And then we have some coarse pumice gel here. And this is like got little bits in it. It's like sand, wet sand. And it almost looks like it's not going to stick on, but if you leave it for enough time, it does actually stick pretty well. But if you do it too thinly, I think the bits can fall off. So that's the coarse pumice gel. I'm getting it all over my fingers. Okay, and then we have extra coarse pumice gel. So this is kind of the same thing, but the bits are bigger. And this really doesn't seem like it's going to stick down, but you can tell that it's got a kind of gloopy medium, keeping all the bits in there. Right, what else have we got? We've got clear granular gel. And this is one of my favourites because it dries completely clear. Obviously it doesn't look clear here, but and I quite like the size of the bits. Kind of reminds me of like rice, semolina or something. Some sort of rice pudding. There we go. Look, this one seems like it's going to stick better, and I think that's why I like it. And then there's the glass bead gel. Whoops. And this dries clear as well. We've got tiny, tiny little glass beads in it. Now, we've also got this, which is clear tar gel, and this stringy bits, so sort of like this. And it holds the shape, it doesn't disintegrate into a big puddle. So it's quite fun. And then we have this light moulding paste. So you can build up textures with it, like this. You can also draw into it. So it's quite versatile, and I've also used it with stencils onto deli paper, and then when it's dried, I hope you can see this on the camera, you get these raised parts, and then you can tear it and use it as collage paper. So this is a really good use of the light moulding paste, and I will do some of that with you in a minute. Let's just finish doing these samples first. So let's get rid of that. Hi Jay, I see you on here. Welcome. Right. The next thing that I was going to show you was actually creating texture by sticking fabrics onto your piece. So I have this thing which is called acrylic binder. You could probably use matte medium or gloss medium as a kind of glue, because they do work like that, but this is specifically formulated to be used as a glue. So some of the kinds of fabric that you can use are things like this, which is gauze. You get it for using in bandages. So let's chop a little bit off. You can see it looks kind of like a gloss medium or something. And then I'm going to just stick this onto it like this. And you can also use stuff like this. This is like a trim, a very big bit of trim, and it's kind of like a crochet piece. You can use this acrylic binder to stick it down. And then the other thing you could use, I think I've got some somewhere. I don't know what I've done with it. I had some tulle, which is quite nice for making textures as well. Let's see if it's in here. Here, there's a tiny bit of tulle. I could use that. You know, tulle which you use for making tutus. It's kind of like a bit of netting. So let's stick that down as well. So that's my little example to show you all. Oh yeah, and the other thing that you can use, which isn't really as textured, but it's just like gesso, gives a little bit of texture, but it's not on the same sort of scale as these things, but it does give a bit of a toothy texture. Anyway, I'm going to put this to one side and let these dry. And just like Blue Peter, here I have one that I made earlier, and these are all the different kinds of texture pastes and things, and I'm hoping that they're all dry now, so I'm going to try painting onto them to see how they look once you start painting them. So let's see, we've got a paintbrush here, and let's try. So let's see how it looks. I hope you're all having a nice July. It's been quite cold here. Not very summery at all, but I actually prefer that to it being really hot, so I don't mind too much. I guess this is where we'll find out if these have dried, because I only did these a couple of hours ago. They feel dry. The crackle paste hasn't really crackled, but I was thinking as I put it on that I don't know that paper is very good support for crackle paste because it moves around too much. So I think I'm just going to leave that one out of my little experiment. So this is the fine pumice gel. Oh, it looks like it kind of acts as a resist to the paint. That's interesting. Let's see the coarse pumice gel. How does that react? Well, that's quite nice. This one doesn't feel like it's quite dry yet, so I'm not going to put paint on that. Let's try the clear granular gel. And that one the medium looks like it resists the paint, so that's quite an interesting effect there. These are the glass beads. Gives quite a nice texture. Clear tar gel. And now the clear tar gel also resists the paint a bit, so you can end up with it's sort of, yeah, acting as a mask for the things that you've got underneath, which is quite interesting. This is clear gesso, which I use quite a lot actually, just to add a tooth over the top of paintings if I don't want to obliterate whatever's underneath. I might use clear gesso. And then this is the light moulding paste. This is light moulding paste as well. I'm just playing around with different kinds of textures that you could draw into the moulding paste. I was drawing into it with a stick. If you do it more with a dry brush, then it leaves the underneath. And this is quite bumpy texture that I made, so that's quite cool. I'm wondering if you have a wet brush, maybe you can interesting. And these are the fabrics that I stuck down. So I mean, it really gives quite a lot of texture to your piece. It would be quite obvious if you stuck the fabric down like this, with bits sticking up. It'd be almost like a sculpture. This is the tulle. So that gives quite a nice texture to your piece. And some of this crochet stuff. All right. It's interesting, as it dries, it changes. So the glass bead gel, the little glass beads have attracted the paint, and then the in-between bit has resisted the paint. And it's the same with this clear granular gel as well. So it's a physical texture, but it also becomes a visual texture as well. Similar with this fine pumice gel and the clear tar gel as well. So yeah, an interesting thing. I realised that I had all these things in my stash, and I kind of thought, oh, I wonder about adding them into my sketchbook, because I use these usually on my paintings on wood panel and stuff like that, but I hadn't really thought about using them in a sketchbook before. But I think I might try that just for fun. So I was talking earlier about making stencil pieces like this with the light moulding paste on deli paper. So I thought I would do a bit of a demo. So here are some that I did earlier. I think they're pretty much dry now. And I'll just show you how I do it, because it's really nice to do some of these and then you can as collage pieces, and then you don't have to get out the light moulding paste and everything each time. You can just stick it on, and then when you paint over it, you end up with some good texture. I'll just show you an example. This is my junk journal, and in the front here, this is a piece of that deli paper with the stenciled light moulding paste on it, and you can see that in between the light moulding paste and on top react differently to the paint when you paint it on, if you do quite a light wash. So it really adds nice variety of sort of texture to the page. So yeah, it's a nice thing to use in collage. So I've got some deli paper here, and I've been putting it onto there's like a front and a back with deli paper. One side is shiny and the other side is a bit more matte, so I've been putting it onto the matte side, but I don't think it really matters too much. And then I have some stencils here. So these are just shop bought stencils, and this is some punchinella that is from making sequins. And I really like to use these catalyst wedges on a stick. They're like the glue sticks that you used at school when you were a kid, but they're kind of like that for grown-ups. Okay, now everything's going bangy crash. So yeah, here we go. It's kind of like buttery kind of whipped cream, like whipped cream that's gone too far and started turning into butter. And then you need to hold down your stencil quite nice and firm, and then put it on like this. And I like to spread it out to try and make it as smooth as possible, so you don't have bits where it's like really high and other bits where it's really thin. It's so satisfying. It's a bit like frosting a cake. I'm going to be all perfectionistic about it now. I'm a terrible perfectionist. All right, I'm going to just go for it. Let's lift it up and see how it looks. There we go. It didn't work out quite as nicely as the first one I did here, where the individual dots were very well defined, but it will still work quite well for texture. Okay, let's try a different one. This one is very fine, little tiny dots, and this works quite well as well. And these stencils are all ones that I haven't actually tried using in this way before, so it's quite exciting to give it a go. Might be able to hear the school children outside. We live just above a school, so sometimes they're very noisy. I did shut the window, but they can make quite a racket. But it's quite convenient because my daughter goes to that school and she just has to walk around the corner in the morning. Very, very close. Okay, so cool. That looks really nice. And let's try another one. This is almost like a leopard spot or something. I'm not really doing a huge amount in my sketchbook this time, but if I have time, so we're nearly halfway through now, I will grab my sketchbook and have a little play at the end. But I was thinking, what can I have a go at today? And the idea of using texture pastes in my sketchbook kind of came up in my mind, and I thought, oh, that would be quite fun actually to sort of swatch out all of the different texture pastes that I have. And if you haven't come across them before, it might give you a bit of an idea of how they all work. Okay, let's try lifting this one up. Ooh, looks so good. And then the last one, this one has quite big holes, and those are actually a little bit trickier to get nice and smooth with the moulding paste, so I'll just see how I go. Okay, I'm going to give it a go. See how it turned out. Oh yeah, that looks great. Great. So I can leave these to dry now. I'm wondering if the ones I did earlier are dry. Yes, pretty much. So I'm going to try, actually I'm just going to scrape this off. I've got a bit left on here. And I'm just going to wipe off my stencils because I don't want them to get the moulding paste stuck on them, because it will change how they work as stencils. I don't want. Oh dear, I'm making a right mess of this, aren't I? Which side is it on? It's on this side. So I hope if you're watching you're able to do some art while you're watching along. did a bit of plein air sketchbooking this month because the weather was so nice, and it's really nice to get out and sketch outside. Okay, that'll do. Probably really boring to watch me clean my stencils, but I'm just worried if I don't clean them off with the moulding paste, it'll stick to them. Let's see. What can we do? Get my junk journal, maybe give you a little tour I've been doing in here recently. So I've been kind of building up the pages with paint. I was really actually a bit at first because I really liked the pages as they were, and then I kind of had to force myself to just get over it and start painting. And now I'm actually really enjoying it with the paint. Some of the pages I haven't really tackled yet, but you can see like this is obviously not got very far, but I'm really liking how it's going. And towards the back there's some more painted ones, like this one. And because it has all these papers underneath from where I started with the patchwork junk journal pages, it really adds a nice element of texture to the page, so I'm really enjoying that. And I've kind of been getting bolder with my colours as I go. So I really like this page with the bright red. This is quite nice. This one I've covered up quite a lot of the texture, but it's still there poking through, and I think it just adds a really nice subtle feel. This one's thickly red. This one, I really like the colours in this one. Really nice and bold, and yeah, really enjoying that. So, oh, my camera's not focusing. Or is it? That's okay. All right, so maybe I could try using some of this as a collage paper in my book. See if there's any other pieces that I've stuck in. Here's another piece, and I've painted over it with a gold paint, and so it's really picked up the edges, so really nice. Let's see, and there's what, no, that's tissue paper, that's not textured. It's funny how I feel more comfortable doing it a bit experimental at the back of the book Whereas at the front of the book I feel a bit more inhibited somehow. And maybe I can try the ones that oh no, those are the ones I just did, so they're not ready. Let's see, some of these ones that I did earlier, the new textures. Let's try some of the punchinella. Yeah, I think that'll look nice. So let's go for some of the acrylic binder. I write what they are on the top because they all look the same otherwise, and I can't always easily see what's on the sides. Okay, so I'm going to just stick some of the acrylic binder on here. Cool, I'm going to see what it looks like when I paint over it. I think it'll be really exciting. Let's see, maybe we can put some of this. This is almost like the texture of a fabric. Maybe try some of this. Oops. Might look nice on this page. And let's see what else we've got. Try some of this one. These bits are quite big, so quite chunky. It's nice because you can tear across the bits where the moulding paste is, so you don't have to go in between the gaps, which is quite nice. Put that one there. So I hope you've all got nice things planned for your summer or your winter if you're in Australia or New Zealand or down under anywhere. We've got some friends visiting Amsterdam in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting. And my daughter is going to stay with her granny in the summer holidays, which is nice. But we're not going on any exciting adventures really this year. Just having a holiday at home. Okay, and let's try this final one, which is the leopardy print one. Let's find the place for this. Cool. I think that's going to look really nice. So maybe I could actually put a bit of paint in here while I'm at it. It's interesting how some of the paints come out really glossy, and then other ones are more matte. I think that's dry, so I could maybe try painting over that. So I've got sort of teal and blue and orange and red on this page. What does it need? I think I'm going to stick with that complementary colour palette and maybe go with a bit more, maybe a darker blue. Let's try. This is a kind of indigo that I mixed. I think it's a mix of phthalo and indigo blues. So it's a bit funny with the live stream because you can't edit, so here I am just kind of doing things at my normal pace, and I'm worrying that it's really boring to watch. So I hope it's not too boring. So I'll water it down a little. Feels like it needs a bit more value contrast, so I'm going to put some of this dark blue elsewhere. It's funny, I've been thinking a lot about how with art you have to face your fear every day. Every time you make art, you have to face the fear of, am I going to ruin what I've already done? You know, a lot of people talk about the fear of the blank canvas, but I think what's worse than that is fear of the canvas that you kind of already like, because you might do something that ruins what's already there. But if you don't do anything, then you're never going to improve what's there. So every move you make is kind of so you have to kind of steel yourself every time and think, well, I don't think it's finished as it is. Risk it and hope that I come up with something that's better. I'm feeling like this is a bit more dynamic now. So I actually am glad that I've put the darker colour in, even though to start with I really wasn't sure. But I have to kind of almost cultivate a I don't care attitude, even though I obviously do care, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. You have to kind of like pretend to yourself that it doesn't matter and you don't care, even though you do. But then you have to go, even if I don't like it, it doesn't matter, because I have the confidence that I know I can make something as good as I had already. I can always do that again. Even if I lose this page and it doesn't make it better, it'll still be, I'll still have learned something, and I can always come back and do something else on top, and even if it's not exactly how it was, it doesn't matter too much. I can always make these kind of marks again. The mental battle of art is interesting, kind of like life. Yeah, I'm quite liking this now. It feels a bit more interesting than it was. Put this to one side and let it dry. How much time? We've got 10 minutes left. Let's see what other pages I've got in here that need something doing to them. See, I've been doing a lot of swatching. Oh, I really like this page actually. I quite like how it turned out. So I'm not going to do anything to that. Here's a page I can play with. I've put lots and lots of colour and texture in here, and it's just starting to look quite muddy. So what I think I'd like to do is take a really light colour or a really dark colour, or maybe one of both, and try to make it so that there's a bit more contrast, there's a bit more lights and darks, and a bit more kind of areas where there is, because at the moment there's this all over pattern of the light blue, which is light, but it feels like a pattern rather than a composition. So I'm going to need a light colour. Let's see. I'm going to go with this Titan Buff. And I might, got quite a lot of purpley vibes in here, so I might make it just a little bit yellowy. I like to just mix the colours so they're not always exactly how they come out of the tube. Which brush shall I use? I do have a favourite brush, and I've used it so much that it's gone all scruffly. Scruffly, is that a word? Scruffy. That's nice. It's kind of like a primrose yellow sort of colour. And I'm going to block out just some areas, and I'm going to try and keep it nice and loose. I'm holding my brush quite far towards the end. These aren't in really shapes of anything in particular, just kind of intuitively laying down the colour. I've got some of the dark shapes coming off the page. So these are going to end up being my darker shapes, and this is my lighter background. Am I going to do one more shape here, maybe? No, I think that'll do there. Maybe a small shape, there we go. Been drawing a lot of birds recently, so this kind of reminds me of a bird. But the others kind of just look like boulders or something, like just sort of stones or something. So that feels like I've made this page better already. And then of course I can come back in and layer over the light areas with other colours to give them more interest. And maybe work more dark colours into these darker patches, just to kind of, yeah, give it a bit of contrast. I'll put that to one side. This is how I work quite often, is I end up working on lots of different things all at the same time, and leaving them to dry. Let's see if there's a page in here I can play with in the last... We've got 5 minutes left. I mean, that looks like it's ready for some paint, doesn't it? This as well. Oh, here is another example. So maybe we could do this similar thing here. So I'm going to get this Titan buff again. I like it because it's quite neutral. So I might just leave it like that this time with a tiny bit of yellow in there. almost letting the paintbrush kind of dance across the page. This feels much better, having these more defined areas of light and dark. It was getting very, very busy for a while there. It's quite nice, you can actually see the pattern through, but it lightens it by having this tight and buff over the page. So yeah, like that. I think I'll be able to come in later and add to this, but it gives it a bit of a composition now, whereas before it was just one big all over pattern. So I think I'm going to leave it there for today. So just a quick recap on what we covered. We went over these texture pastes and painted them. Let's see how the original one did right at the beginning. These have started to dry, but they're not quite dry yet. But some of them are. Oh, this one's the crackle paste. It's starting to crackle on this one. But I can tell it's not completely dry because the clear gel, granular gel, and the glass bead gel haven't gone clear yet. So this needs a bit longer. And we did some of these light moulding paste with the stencils onto deli paper. So that's nearly dry now. And then with the ones that I did earlier, we stuck some in here. That's looking quite nice, ready for paint. And this is the one that I did the blue paint on. This is still a bit wet. A good thing with acrylic is that it always dries quite quickly. And then this is the last little bit that I did in my sketchbook, right at the end there. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me mess about. I feel like I've been a bit all over the place today. And I hope you managed to get some art done as well while you're watching. And thanks very much for tuning in. And if you're watching on the replay, thanks very much for watching. And I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.